And in our first story, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, is commending the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta for directing the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation to take immediate steps to address the inconsistencies in crude oil pricing. PIAC says the move will save the country from further revenue losses.
According to the Public Interest and Accountability Committee in a statement issued to the media, it is concerned about these developments because the GNPC is a recipient of petroleum revenues and falls within the committee's oversight mandate as stipulated under Section 52 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011. PIAC commended the Minister of Finance for directing GNPC to take immediate steps to address the anomaly in the pricing of the crude to save the country from further revenue losses. The directive said to be contained in a memo of July 2018 responds adequately to recommendations of PIAC's 2017 annual report. The PIAC report established that in 2017, Ghana lifted 4 parcels of crude oil from the 10 field. These were in March, June, October and December. In all the 4 cases, the sales returns reported substantial price deviations from government's benchmark price, Jubilee and Brent achieved prices. The March lifting from 10, for instance, had a negative price differential of almost $5 per barrel against Jubilee and slightly over $2 per barrel against Brent. In October, the performance of the 10 crude was worse. It suffered a negative price differential of $6 per barrel against both Jubilee and Brent. It is important to recognize that even a dollar price differential for a barrel of crude can amount to substantial losses. A dollar markdown done fraudulently can therefore lead to a loss of $1 million per lifting. PIAC, in its 2017 annual report, therefore recommended that GNPC took another look at its pricing and marketing policy for 10 crude. Given that GNPC appears to contest this view, as evident in the corporation's response to the minister's directive, PIAC strongly recommends the establishment of an independent panel of experts to review the 10 crude oil marketing policy and to settle the matter.
And now for the latest in education, where the Executive Director of NGO Community Development Alliance, Salifu Isifu Canton, is worried that the double-track system will lead to many girls in senior high schools becoming pregnant. He argues that anytime students from the SHS are on long vacation, some of them end up being pregnant. He states an increase in vacation days will compound the situation. Mr. Canton was speaking at a forum organized in Wa on the double-track system. Our correspondent in the area, Rafiq Salam, reports.
The forum, which was organized by a non-governmental organization, Community Development Alliance, CDA, with support from Star Ghana, was attended by major stakeholders in the education sector, including retired educationists, members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, and some civil society organizations. It was on the theme, Understanding the Double-Track HHS Educational System and Implications for Learning Outcomes of Students in the Upper West Region. Executive Director of Community Development Alliance, Salifu Isifu Canton, stated that there is clearly no doubt about the good intention of the Akufo-Addo government for the poor, marginalized and underprivileged Ghanaians, as reflected in several policy initiatives of the government. He is, however, disturbed that there is something fundamental wrong with government's approach to implementing some of these laudable policy initiatives or programs.
It is as if the philosophy of the government is, this is what we think, this is what is good for you, you take it or leave it. We in civil society often get that impression that some of these policies are not properly thought of or thought through. Some of them have no proper and publicly available policy papers backing them. No research evidence justifying the need. And even when some data is provided as a basis, the data is often found to be skewed or not very verifiable.
Among the issues that the double-track system intends to address is inequitable access to high school education. Mr. Canton, meanwhile, doubts the current approach to achieving this objective may not be entirely appropriate. He says the implementation of the policy is likely going to increase the number of pregnancies among girls in the SHHS.
They're going to stay home for long, so they'll be watching film, they'll be connecting more with friends, they would have their parents who go to work and leave them home. So that has implications. If already with a single track, anytime they are on longer vacations, a number of them get pregnant before school resumes, it then suggests that if we increase the duration of free stay at home, many more girls will be victims. So it will mean that we are implementing a policy that ends up taking girls out of school, and that will not be good for our country.
Ghana former acting ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Kweku Bawine, is not happy with the politicization of the country's educational system.
You have jumped into a pool of water. You are asking whether it's hot or cold. So we now have to swim. And now that we are to swim, I believe, in fact, the whole thing talks about the very educational system that we have. All the struggling we are having is because we have been experimenting and testing an educational system that doesn't seem to hold. It can't get anywhere. Is it the system we want? Is it a container? Is it because the container is not big? What is the container? The schools. If we had enough schools, there wouldn't be any double track system. So what we have now, we are talking of the container, but not the contents. Finally, when these people go there and they leave the school, what are they going to be? What sort of education will we? Nobody is talking about that. It's about it will work. The other one says it won't work. That's the double trap for NDC and PP. Then when finally they get there, who is the person we are training? When they have gone there, they have tracked and tracked and tracked off on NDC, MPP to work, it won't work. They are out. Who are they?
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
And now to the Ashanti region, where police in Kumasi are yet to formally charge 2 Chinese nationals who allegedly stabbed a Ghanaian worker with a pair of scissors close to 2 weeks ago. Now, since the incident in Febi in Kumasi, Liu Zhenzhong and Liu Wan have been granted police inquiry bail. The stabbing followed a tussle with the victim, Peter Frimpong, after verbal exchanges over laxity at work. Frimpong sustained deep stab wounds in his palms and neck and has since been discharged after treatment at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. But Corporal Prince Dogbache with the Police Public Relations Unit in the Ashanti region tells Love News that they are yet to formally charge the 2.
So far, the suspects involved, the Chinese nationals, they have been arrested in connection with the crime and have been granted police inquiry bail as investigation is ongoing into the case.
Have they been charged at the moment?
The charge has not come in yet. When investigation is complete, they will be duly charged and put before court.
Any reason why they have not been charged and have been granted bail?
Yes, investigation is ongoing. The bail, yes, is part of the processes involved in criminal investigation. And so once evidence is found, the culprits will be charged and duly put before court.
At the moment, what has happened to the victim?
Well, the victim had been treated and discharged from hospital and is in a good state now.
At what stage do you think investigations are at the moment? When will they be complete?
Well, investigation is at a rather advanced stage, and in no time we should see the prosecution of these culprits.
Now, the Crops Research Institute of the CSIR will be naming a sweet potato after the late UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Senior research scientist and sweet potato and taro breeder Dr. Ernest Berfi says it's in recognition of his contribution towards sweet potato production through the founding of the Alliance for Green Revolution for Africa, AGRA. Now, the new breed, AGRA SP19 or CRI Kofi Annan, as it will soon be known, is pending approval by the National Varietal Release Committee of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Here's what Love FM's Kwesi Deborah has learned about it.
And we decided to name this in honor and memory of Mr. Annan because Mr. Annan has been a good advocate, a champion, and a supporter of the Institute and the sweet potato fraternity. He has also contributed to making sweet potato have a befitting place in the status of our staple crops. And because of that, this variety was decided to name after him.
The Institute, since 2012, has released 13 high-yielding and early maturing varieties. Despite the strides, the crop has enjoyed low level of utilization because of the sweet taste of the recently introduced orange flesh type, rich in a substance known as beta-carotene, which leads to production of vitamin A. The high water content has also limited their consumption as staple food. Meanwhile, the Institute has released 3 sweet potato varieties in response to the demands. The potatoes approved by the National Varietal Release Committee compose 2 less sweet varieties and 1 less sweet orange flesh sweet potatoes.
So the other 2 varieties are not orange flesh, but they have a color that is similar to the yams or the cassava or whatever we have. They also have higher dry matter. They don't have so much water as they are pumping and can be used for other things also. Their yield potential is also high. And then the taste is also not as sweet as we know our traditional sweet potato to be. And so those who have it difficult using sweet potato for dinner or as a main meal can now have alternative sweet potato varieties that have bland taste, and it can go for daily consumption or for main meal.
Dr. Berfi believes the newly released varieties will boost government's agenda such as planting for food and jobs and 1 district, 1 factory.
If these materials are roped in and the government decides to set up a factory at the sweet potato poplar growing areas, then it means that these varieties can boost that policy in that respect. And the employment that could generate from there would give the youth and the vulnerable job security. While the farmers will be producing the raw materials, the industry will be there to pick it. So there will be a ready market for the produce, and the end product that comes out of it are some of the products that we found on the Ghanaian market to see that people are patronizing.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Still on Kofi Annan, Ghanaians from all walks of life Tuesday thronged the Accra International Conference Center to pay their last respects to former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. However, some of them left disappointed as the casket containing the remains are closed. Deputy Information Minister Pius Hajide, however, explained the Funeral Planning Committee decided not to open the casket, rather to drape it in the national colors to show the world the identity of the late Secretary General. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
Some choristers sing solemn songs from the upper terrace of the foyer at the Accra International Conference Center. Family members are seated as hundreds of Ghanaians file past the remains of the former UN Secretary General. Executive Director of the Center for Democratic Development, Henry Kwesi Prempeh, says the former Secretary General remained calm even in a turbulent world.
Well, I think its contributions go beyond the United Nations. But I think while he was there, He was always a very thoughtful and calm voice during very turbulent times. You know, it was during his time at the UN that, you know, the now very infamous Iraq War happened.
The Ashanti bestowed the title Busumuru on Kofi Annan. An Ashanti historian and researcher, Osei Bunso Safo Kantanka, says the title Utumfo conferred on him is one of the biggest recognitions.
Busumuru is one of the swords, the state swords of the king of Ashanti, Ashanti. And that is the most, the highest of all the swords, which is attached to the golden stool. So he looks round to see who has performed Busumuru Hene, or the chief responsible for the Busumuru sword. Okay. So peaceful a person that his umbrella is even white. Okay.
The managing director of Multi TV, Santok Singh, says the multimedia group will highlight Kofi Annan's contribution to the development of Africa and the world at large.
He's a global icon, so that's why we as a multimedia group, we call it, we are celebrating the global icon. So we are dedicated a lot of time coverage for this event. I think he deserves much more than that. So the little that we can do as a multimedia group will continue, and then we'll highlight all the contribution that they have done and share with the people to really appreciate what he has done.
Hundreds of Ghanaians have thronged the Accra International Conference Center to pay their last respect to the former UN Secretary General. Well, some of them who came here left disappointed because they were unable to see the remains of the late Secretary General of the United Nations. One of them is a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampu. He said, culturally and traditionally, it defeats the purpose of a foul past.
One thing that I'm not too happy about is that in our culture, when you're talking about filing past a dead person, what happens is that you want people to have the opportunity to view the body. But this is covered. I mean, this is so foreign. I know it isn't everybody who is comfortable viewing a dead body, so those who cannot view, it's fine. But there are so many people who have heard about him, they know him from far away. This is the only time they want to see the person, and so they should open the casket and let people view the body. I think that is what we know as our culture. Covering it is not part of our culture.
Deputy Minister of Information Pius Hajide says the funeral planning committee decided not to open the casket, but rather drape it in the national colours to show the world the identity of the late Secretary General.
The funeral planning committee has taken the decision that we should drape the casket of His Excellency Mr. Kofi Annan in the national colours, our national flag, to symbolize to the world that we claim this funeral, we own it, and that we are proud of our distinguished and renowned international diplomat, Mr. Kofi Annan.